Can you guys hear me clearly?
Uh, welcome back to all. Myself, Professor Gamba from Automobile Engineering Department. I welcome you, all of you, again on day 5, session 2. So, I would like to request Professor Kuldeep Patel to introduce today's speaker, Professor Flora Kamdar. Welcome, Kuldeep.
Professor Yagnesh. Hello everyone. So we have been listening many technical sessions during this FDP alternate fuels. Now we arrived at the last session of this FDP on the stress management. Actually, this session is mandatory by the AICTE and the ATAL portal to have a stress management session from the eminent speaker expert who is giving the idea regarding the how the well-being, how the stress is being managed during and at your workstation. So for that context, we have Miss Flora Kamdar, who is trainer and educator. She is today giving us the lecture on the topic of well-being and resilience to manage stress. Now let me introduce Miss Flora. She is currently based at Romania, East Europe. She is an ardent educator, a passionate blogger, a voracious leader, and an avid traveler who loves experimenting, which keeps her both humble and human. She strongly believes that most of us have answer to all our questions and problems. We just need someone to ask us the right question which will get us there. Dedicated, ambitious, and goal-driven academia expert with 15 years progressive experience, Flora is adept at multitasking, documenting, and teaching training. She has devised and implemented evaluation tools for various educational organizations within and outside the India. So she is acting across the globe for this training and education. She reviews syllabus book for Cambridge, teaches at schools internationally, trains teachers across the various cities in India, and aims at improving the quality of education in the country. Her philosophy of life is quoted as simple, learn, unlearn, and relearn. She is neuro-linguistic programming coach as well. She facilitates training programs for students, teachers, and corporates. When the right facilitation happens, it clears the path for individual to reach the heart of any matter. So with this brief introduction of Miss Flora, I would like to invite today's speaker, Miss Flora Kamdar, for delivering a talk on well-being and resilience to manage stress. So this is ultimately the session regarding the how self-development, how stress management, and how heartfulness would be achieved. So without wasting much time, I would like to hand over the session to Ms. Flora Madam. Madam, please enlighten us through your words how the stress can be managed, because whenever the involvement of mind comes, there is a stress, and stress has to be managed. Overstress cannot be overstress. The area cannot be performed well. So we want to perform well in our expertise. So wasting much time, now I am handing over the session to the Flora Madam. Please, madam. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Can you guys hear me clearly?
Yes, madam.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So before I start with anything, I just want to talk about something I experienced this morning. So as you can see, I'm logged in from two different devices. And you can see that I'm trying to present a screen and it's not working, even though I'm logged in from two different devices. Keeps on throwing me out. So one of the things that I've learned through last 1.5 years is whether you want it or you do not want it, stress is an integral part of our lives. And it's not like you're going to be able to avoid it. So the only thing we can really do is to deal with it. Yeah, can you still hear me? I'm sorry, I cannot hear you guys. So can you say hi if you can hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you.
Awesome. If you think I'm going a little fast or you want me to slow down a bit, just let me know, okay? So I'm Flora, and Kuldeep sir has been really kind in my introduction here. So thank you very much for the introduction. I've been working with students, with professors, with teachers in India, outside India for a very long time now. And one of the things that I have come to realize is stress is more of what we build inside our head than what is actually existing. For example, we have a time difference of 3.5 hours, which means it is early morning for me. And I am working because it's a Friday. So if I make this situation huge in my mind and I say that because I'm working and I have an early morning session, I could not sleep at night. This is how I'm actually training my mind. This is how I define stress, not necessary that all of us define it in the same way. So the first thing that I would like us to do is over here in the chat window, if you can quickly just tell me your expectation from this session today and type it down in the chat window. In the meantime, I'm going to start the broadcast of my presentation if it works. Somehow the broadcast is not working. So can you quickly type in the chat box, what are your expectations from today's session? I understand that you have had technical trainings from Monday for the whole week. And I can only imagine how stressful it is because I'm not a technical person. I'm a very non-technical person. So today, when you're here for this session, what is it that you expect? And as you can see, that it just kicks me out every time I try to present. So you're going to have to deal with it like I'm dealing with it. Let's see if we've got something here in the chat box. Waiting for you guys to tell me what your expectations are for today.
Yeah, I think there are a few points in the chat box, Laura.
Yes, I'm trying to open it. But I think because of crazy, the whole system got stuck. And yeah. Okay, so I've got a couple of them: to control mind and to avoid mental stress, control stress and negative environment, help, just want to be happy in any situation. I like that one. Negative things that come in mind, difficult situations, happy and positive in all situations. All right. Some more, please. So we've got about 60 people here. I'm expecting at least 20% of us to participate, if not more. So what do you expect when you saw on your schedule that I'm going to be here today and we're going to talk about stress? What did you think about? Oh my God, one more session. What are we going to do? Why don't they just leave us alone? Did you think like that? Or did you think like, oh, thank goodness there's not one more technical? What did you think of? What are your expectations from today? So one thing I've learned as a teacher is how the hurtfulness, I think, can be achieved. Okay. One thing that I've learned as a teacher is that our students do as they see. And one of the things that we want them to do is to participate. If we don't participate, we cannot expect them to participate. So this is the time for us as teachers, as professors, as mentors and guides to participate, be present for ourselves, because that's what our kids are learning from us. No, that's okay. How to be happy in every situation, even if things are not going our way. That's a big one. Thank you. So, stress, as it is defined in most of the dictionaries, is the degree to which you feel that you are unable or overwhelmed to cope with anything in life as a result of pressure that you think is unmanageable. That is what we call stress. So the opposite of stress is not to be unstressed, because we don't have an option to be not stressed. The option is to be resilient. And resilience is a word that comes from, it has Latin roots, and it means a process to adapt to adversities, to trauma, to tragedy, to threat, to any source of stress, basically. It could be relationships, it could be family, it could be workplace problems, it could be health problems, it could be financial stress. So to be stressed is not in our control, but to be resilient to that stress is very much in our control. When I say to be resilient, I don't mean to say you don't have to feel things. And especially, I've been working with the engineering colleges for some time, with students, with professors. And I see that some of the most stressed people, especially in India, are engineers, students who study engineering, and professors who teach engineering students. And I think the root of it is because we are never taught how to deal with it. And I'm very thankful that today we are mandated to have this session, because work-life balance is very important. As we move further, before I move with the session, I would like you to commit to something. Now, I'm not a religious person, but I'm a very spiritual person. And I believe that each of us has certain level of space that we hold for ourselves and our colleagues. So can I please request, number one, to turn on your cameras if you're comfortable with it? Because as a professor, you know that when your students have turned off the cameras, it feels like you're talking to zombies. So can I request, if you're comfortable, to please turn on your cameras? Thank you so much. Number two, can we please put our phones away? I understand that when the cameras are off, automatically our brain switches to a mode which is not very engaged in what's going on. So even if your camera is turned off, can you just push your phone away? Try not to text, try and close all the tabs on your laptop or your iPad so that we are not distracted from ourselves, because this session is about us. It's not about our skills. It's just about us. And be present over here for yourself. Make sure that we have an open mind. We have a beginner's mind, right? Because that's where learning happens the most. So thank you for those of you who turned on your camera. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. I would need you next to take 5 nice and deep breaths before we move on to what is going on in our mind. So take a nice, long, deep breath in. And just think about how your week has been while you're breathing, how you've done different sessions, different experts coming, talking to you. Today, this is the last session for you, I understand, and you're going to have a relaxed weekend. Just breathe and think about how you want your training to be productive and how you want this week to impact your professional life. And with that, take one last breath in and exhale. One of the things that I start my trainings with is called, and now I'm going to use the chat box because Google Meet has something with me today. It's called End in Mind. Every time we start a lesson as professors, we have lesson objectives, right? What are we going to do today? What are the students going to learn today? So today, I want you to create a lesson objective for yourself. What is your end in mind? So yes, you told me that you want to learn or you want to understand heartfulness. You want to learn to deal with situations, with stress, cope with negative environment, etc. Convert this into a lesson objective for yourself. So for me, the end in mind would be this is my end in mind. Can you please quickly, just 2 sentences, what is your end in mind? What is your final goal of the whole training that you've done through the 5 days, including this one? What would that be? I would like you to participate. If you can unmute and talk, if you don't want to type, great. I am up for it. If you're not so comfortable unmuting and talking, just type it in the chat box as we go through the session. So as you think about the end in mind in terms of stress, you will also automatically think about resilience, right? If you say that I do not like coffee, it means you've tasted coffee and you don't prefer it. But if you say, I don't know what coffee tastes like, it means you've never tried coffee. When you say that I want to deal with stress, it automatically means you have dealt with it in the past and you have won with it, which means you already have built certain resilience, right? What is resilience to you? Does it mean to not quit? Does it mean to fight against all adversities to achieve whatever it is that you have set out to achieve? What is resilience? What is your end in mind? So the one part of your end in mind is your stress, and the other part of your end in mind is your resilience. While you guys are busy typing, I'm going to talk a little bit about the end in mind and where it comes from. So this is not a phrase I have developed, and I would like to give due credit to Stephen Covey. If any of you have read the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, when we train people for 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, one of the habits is the end in mind, which means for anything that you want in life, you create a goal, a vision. Where is it that you want to reach? For example, आप में से बहुत सारे लोग स्विमिंग करते होंगे, रनिंग करते होंगे, साइकिलिंग करते होंगे. When you start swimming, cycling, or running, do you see an end line? What if there is no end line? What happens then? अगर वहां पे वो end line है ही नहीं, तो क्या आप motivated होंगे उतने दूर जाने तक? I'll be happy if I'll be able to share knowledge that I have gained from various sessions of faculty development program. Thank you very much. And you would like to share this knowledge with your students, yeah? So it's one of, I'm sorry, I'm not able to hear you, so I'm going to continue. I see you're unmuted, but I couldn't hear you. So from the 7 habits, one of the things about 7 habits is it's extremely boring to read. And I'll be honest about it. You take the book and you go to sleep, like you read 2 pages and you're going to sleep. So if you ever have problems sleeping, read 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. But also that it actually works in life. We've got one response. Can we have a couple of more? I see that some of you have already written your end in mind. When I first asked you, what is your expectation from today's session, which is all right, that's great. But there are so many other people here who have not yet spoken to me at all. So let's do this. We are going to get people talking. I would prefer if you can unmute yourself and tell me, how do you want this session to end for you, not for other people, just for you. So if you've not written so far, you can also just talk. Would you like to do that? Okay. So you see, professors are the hardest to get to talk. You tell a group of students to talk and they go, right? I'm going to give it, say, 30 more seconds to see. Yes, I think someone unmuted themselves. Is it Kavi?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello. Do you want to tell us what is your end in mind today, Kavi?
After this session,
Flora, that's okay.
after this session, I want myself as full of energy. So that I could be little more motivated towards my studies, research, because generally when we try to read research papers, it takes lot much time and becomes hectic. नींद भी आ जाती है मैम, सो जाते हैं.
सोना भी तो इम्पोर्टेंट है ना, सोएंगे नहीं तो कैसे चलेगा?
Sure, ma'am, but पढ़ना भी जरूरी है.
So we see that the first thing, and thank you for it, Kavi. I'm going to take a tiny little your sentence and work a little bit on it. So the moment Kavi said, we, do I realize that when I talk in third person, we, you, when you fall asleep, when you don't go out, this is how you feel. Actually, what we are trying to talk about is this is how I feel. This is what I do. Yes.
Me.
So one of the first, me, yes, Kavi. So one of the first things about stress management is acceptance. When you say, "Arey, hum sare professors is stress se guzarte hain." No, it's none of your business. And I'll be honest with it, it's none of your business. Your business is, main is stress se guzar rahi hu. The moment you say me, I, myself, and you bring it all the responsibility and accountability to yourself, you understand where your stress comes from. क्योंकि जब तक आप ये बोलेंगे कि सारे प्रोफेसर्स को स्ट्रेस होता है, तब तक आप दूसरों के बारे में सोच रहे हैं, खुद के बारे में नहीं सोच रहे हैं. And that is one of the key elements of working on your stress. So those who said, I want to work on not dealing with negative environment. Now I want you to think about something. So you can close your eyes and think about this. You're at work. You're in your lecture, your lesson. You are in an HOD meeting. You are in a meeting with other professors. Just think of a work scenario that stresses you out the most. For me, that would be meetings, because I just don't like being in a meeting. So now think about the meeting. Think about all the people you're surrounded by. And see that meeting in your head. Who are the people in this scenario? Identify them. Slowly turn up the volume and hear what is going on in your lecture, in your meeting. Whatever situation you have selected for yourself that causes the maximum stress for you, where are you at? And as you think of this stressful situation, see how your body feels. As you think of the person who gives you most stress, the one who speaks something and your heartbeat goes higher, the time when student asks a question that you don't know the answer to, and see how your body is reacting to it as you are trying to visualize your stressful situation. Is your heartbeat going up? Do you start getting a headache? Are you probably breaking a little bit of sweat? Or are you just smiling and saying, hey, this is daily life, I'm going to move on with it? And whatever you are going through right now in your physical body, because of what you are visualizing, just acknowledge it. And as you experience this, try and think about how the stress that you're creating in your mind is affecting your body. Stay in this moment, stay present for yourself, and we are going to turn this stressful situation that all of you are individually experiencing into a less stressful situation for you. So if you're in a meeting right now in your mind and you're thinking about this person who keeps on talking and you hate listening to that person, or you're constantly worried about, oh my God, what is he going to say next? Right? I want you to slowly reduce the volume of that person. If it is a student in your class that constantly asks annoying questions and frustrates you, causing stress, I want you to reduce the volume of that student. Be in the same situation, just reduce the volume. If the stress is caused by
Yes.
I know issues here in Romania today. I don't know what's going on. Really sorry for that. So let's get back to it. So we were in a stressful situation that was either caused by a family member, a relationship, a workplace situation, your classroom, a meeting, or in my case, the constant Google Meet issues going on right now. And we had lowered the volume of the person causing you the stress. Now, as kids, we were taught how to paint. So in your head, I want you to pick up a paintbrush or a crayon, a pencil color, whatever you like the best, and slowly color that person, that situation that is causing stress in your mind. Color it. As you color it, choose your favorite color to do it. Make it nice and bright so that that person is now getting colored by you in your favorite color, while the volume of that person is very, very low. And as you go through this, as you reduce the volume and paint your favorite paints on the most stressful situation, be aware of your body once again and see how your body is reacting to it. Is your heartbeat going down a little bit? Is the thumping of your head reducing? Take a deep breath as you do this. And once you have painted that person and you have reduced the volume, look at the whole situation again as a third person, as if you're standing outside your mind and you're watching it. And understand the difference between situation A and situation B. What we did just now is called zooming out of a stressful picture. Not a very difficult term to remember. Every time you feel stress, you're allowed to zoom out of that picture that you have created in your head mentally. There is something called neuro-linguistic programming, if any of you have heard of it. In neuro-linguistic programming, we have something called belief of excellence. So the next thing we're going to do to deal with our stress is to learn about these beliefs. But before we go to that, I'd like to, if your eyes are still closed, I would like you to slowly open your eyes. Just take a moment of reflection. We don't have a huge amount of time, so I'm trying to squeeze it in smaller durations. Now this, what I just did, is called circle of influence. And I will write it for you in the chat box, so you can search it up on Google if you want. Circle of influence is, again, a 7 habits terminology. It means whatever we can have an impact on is a very little circle. And that little circle consists of me, my habits, my thoughts. Anything outside the circle of influence only causes stress, but I cannot deal with it because it is not in my control. So what you did just now, you can do it time and again, every time you feel stressed. This is one of the easiest techniques to deal with stress. So even if you're in a meeting, just close your eyes and take a deep breath. And as you do that, just allow your brain to release all the stress that is caused inside and make it like a blank slate for a couple of minutes. I would like to hear from some of you, if you actually practice this right now, of how and if it did change a little bit for you. You can unmute yourself and talk if you'd like to.
Can you repeat the question?
If you practiced the 2 scenarios, 1, the stressful scenario, and 2, turning the sound down and painting the person, did this have any changes in your physical body when you were experiencing this? So if someone can share one of their stressful situations, we can work through that. If it's not too personal and you can share. No, not yet? Not ready yet?
No, ma'am.
Okay. I so obviously I'm not going to pick anyone up and say, hey, you talk. I'm not going to do that. But if you feel at any point you need to talk, please feel free to do so.
I think you paint. I think
Yeah,
you.
go on.
If you paint somebody like this with colorful things and all this, you will feel comfortable and better.
And because you feel comfortable in your head, you feel comfortable in your physical body, isn't it? Because now I don't see that person as a fearful, stressful person because I painted him or her, right? So if it is a student, for example, make a red bright shirt or yellow shoes, and suddenly that becomes funny instead of stressful. And this, like I said, is one of the techniques to build resilience. It is not easy to do it, but it is not impossible to do. Anyone else would like to share it? Thank you for that. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is, and if you don't participate, this session is going to be not very effective and maybe a little boring for you. So in case you want to talk at any point, even if it's just a feedback, I would appreciate it. Right? So we're going to talk about beliefs of excellence. But before we go to that, let's understand why. So NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming, meaning your brain and your words are connected. The way you talk affects the way you think, and the way you think affects the way you talk. How are we going to use this against stress towards building resilience? For example, when I say you are a bad person, I am building negative words in my head. And the more negative words I build in my head, the more bigger the negative environment around me gets. And that is why there are beliefs of excellence that allows us to think positively and to create a positive environment around us. For example, and I'm going to take a very sensitive example over here. When the terrorist attack last happened in India, Kasab was found alive and arrested afterwards. Throughout the trial, Kasab kept on saying that he did it for good. Did any of you here believe that a terrorist killed so many people for something good? Did you believe him? Any of you? You can choose to say yes or no.
No, ma'am.
No. Anyone who believed him? I'm guessing that's a no. Now, what if I believed in him and I said that the world is different and the map is not a territory? How I see India sitting here in Romania is not how you see India sitting in India, right? If you take a map of India and you point at where you are currently, whether you are in Gujarat, whether you're in Tamil Nadu, whether you're in West Bengal, whether you're in Uttarakhand, if you sit there and you look at the map, and I sit here in Romania and I look at the map of India, do they look the same? Will the map look the same? Yes, Arun, it will look the same. So you're sitting in India and you're thinking about India. So I'm here in Nagpur, right at the center, and I'm thinking about India. Yeah, it's around me. But I'm here in Romania and I'm thinking about India. Will the map look the same?
No, ma'am.
Why not? You are currently being trained and I'm currently training. Are we on the same side? Do we see this session as the same reason why we are here? Do we all have the exact same reason to be here?
No,
When
ma'am.
it rains.
Every means hello. It means the
Yeah.
motto to attend this FDP for every people it may be different.
Yes, it may be different because we are individuals, because of different time zones. Yes, Shravan, thank you. So you see how we see life is not the territory. Everybody has their own map. Everybody thinks of a situation differently. Some people like rain. Some people find it stressful to deal with rain. It is about different perspectives. And that is why the first belief of excellence is the map is not the territory. So every time a student comes to you and tells you, I couldn't finish my assignment because my dog was sick, or my mother was at the hospital, or because I slept, or I watched a movie. When you think, oh my God, the student is so irresponsible that he or she watched a movie but did not finish the assignment, think about it again. Is it really how the student sees it? Probably that movie that he watched or the sleep that she took kept them sane. out of all the various insane things going around. So the first belief of excellence, yes, different circumstances, it deals with the fact that the map is not the territory. And connected to it is the second belief, which says respect each other's maps of the world. So if you say, I do not like rain because it makes me wet, even if I love rain, I have to respect what you say. Now, there's a difference between agreeing and respecting. Most of the stress that is caused, especially for us as professionals, is because we have to agree to something we don't believe in, right? So if the principal of the college or the head of the department, and forgive me if I'm not being polite to you in any way, but when your HOD says that you have to do something and you don't believe in it, and you still have to say, oh yes, that's a fantastic idea, that hurts us and that causes the stress. So when I say, I understand what you're saying, but I don't believe in that, that's a completely different statement. Taking Kasab's example again, you don't agree with what he did. Now let me ask you the same question differently. When Kasab said that he was doing it for the greater good, when he was killing people for the greater good, and you read about the fact that he was taken away by the AICTE, his family was given money when he lived in absolute poverty, and he took up to killing people because he wanted to make sure that his family had enough money. Do you understand him? I'm not asking if you agree with him, but I'm asking if you understand his position. Look at the two questions differently, and it is a very sensitive question. I know we don't agree with it. Yes, Yagneshanti, thank you. So you do understand what he felt, although you might be totally against it. You hated him for what he did, but did you understand him? You did, right? Because each of us has a different map of the world. When I'm here in Romania and I say India is so small, that's because I'm looking at India from so far. Yes, Arun, we have different feelings, right? When you are sitting in Nagpur and looking at India, India looks huge because you're in the center of the city, of the country. If you're sitting up north and looking at India, then you see down and you see a peninsula. When you're in south looking up, you see the Himalayas. All about different perspectives. So the second belief that helps you release or understand your stress is the fact that each of us has different map of the world, and we must respect that, right? Let me give you an example of my previous experience with one of the other engineering colleges. So one of the professors came up to me. I am a consulting director for some of the engineering colleges, and one of the professors came up and said, we need a solution. We have a very big problem. And I said, okay, what is the problem? And he said, one of the final year students, he is being deceived, cheated by a boy. And I said, all right, let's hear you out. What's going on? And he said that, well, they're dating. And I saw them outside the college sharing an ice cream. And I think it is going to affect her grades. Right? Most of us feel that way when we see our students. Probably our students feel that way when they see us. Remember that, just reminding you. But so we got into the details of it. We spoke to the girl that was concerned, and we asked her, is the boy harassing you in any way? Is he forcing you in any way? And she said that my parents don't support me. I'm doing so well at engineering, but they want me to get married. And this guy that I've been dating, he's my boyfriend. I love him, he loves me, and he supports my career. Now, what the professor was seeing was from his family background, from what he experienced in his life, because when we were young, things were different. And now these guys have a completely different life. Now that professor took so much stress for the whole week, just because he was worried about this child, and that's such a wonderful thing to do. But it was all in his head, and it wasn't existing. How many of us do this? How many of us do not respect the other person's map of the world? Think about it. I'm not going to ask you to share about it, but if you have something to share, it will be nice to hear from some of you. Okay. So at any point, if you want to share something, please just go on and unmute yourself and say it out loud, okay? Because we have short time and I really, really want this session to help you. So I'm going to move to the third belief of excellence. And I'm sorry, my presentation is not working and I'm typing in the chat box, but because this meeting is being recorded, the chat will also be recorded. So whoever is the admin can probably forward the chat to you guys later, right? The meaning of your communication is the response you get. This is the NLP belief of excellence, but relating to it, we have something in 7 habits that's called first listen to understand and then expect to be heard. Every time we talk to a student, to a colleague, to wife, to husband, we expect them to understand us first. But life is like a bank account and the stress is caused when our bank account goes to negative, right? So my date of salary here is the 10th. So every time it's the first, the second, the third, I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, my bank balance is going down, right? Now imagine your bank balance is at a zero. And many of you might have children, yeah? Do you guys have children? Do you have little kids at home? Maybe a nephew, a niece, if not your own children? Yeah, okay. So have you ever heard a child say, let's just take money from the bank if you tell them we don't have the money? And they say, let's just take it from the ATM. Yeah? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you tried to explain to them that you first need to put money in bank before you can withdraw it? And do they understand it?
They don't know what money is. That's the thing.
They don't know what money is. But as an adult, do you go to an ATM and withdraw money when you have a zero balance in that account?
No, that's not at all possible for us, right?
Why is it not possible? Tell me.
If you don't have a balance, how would you get the money from there?
If you don't have something, you can't withdraw it. Similarly, in life, stress is caused when we try to withdraw what we have not deposited. So when you are expecting a friend to be by your side when you are facing a difficult situation, you should have first invested in that friendship. When you are asking a colleague to cover for your lesson, have you ever deposited in your relationship with that colleague? And now think of it the other way around. We are taught to be the yes people in India. You should always say yes to everything. So when I come to you and I ask for a favor and I say, Vinay, can you lend me 500 rupees? You know, Vinay cannot say no because that's not what we are taught, right? And that causes stress too. So before Flora deposits anything in Vinay's account, if Flora is making a withdrawal, Vinay will go in negative if he allows Flora to withdraw.
So it's better to say no for some of the things, right?
I would rather say that rather than saying better to say no to some of the things, I would rather say, think about what you really want to do. And if you have made a deposit to withdraw, or if the other person has made a deposit in you before they can withdraw. So Kavi, what I'm trying to say is not that we are the cause of all stress, no, but I am trying to say that we create more stress for ourselves by being yes people. Because today I have this training, okay? I said, okay, I'll do the training, but I have a lesson at 9 o'clock. And I say, yes, I'll do the lesson. And then I have a colleague who says, hey, you know, today I have to go for my vaccination. Can you cover for me? And I say, oh, yeah, I can cover for you. By the end of my Friday, I will be dead and tired and I will have no time for my son. And then I go home and I shout at my children and my wife and my husband. Is it fair on them? So when you are a yes person, remember that there is always yin and yang, the balance of life. If you take work stress home, your relationship at home is going to suffer. And if you've had an argument with your wife, your husband, your parents at home, and you bring that to work and you shout at your colleague, your work relationships are going to get affected. So the third belief of excellence is when you communicate, you are trying to get a response from someone. So when I am talking to you right now, when I am communicating to you right now, whether you are responding to me in the chat box verbally, or you're not saying anything to me, but in your head, whatever you are thinking right now is the response I'm trying to get from you. And every time you talk, every time we as teachers, especially when we talk, we have to understand that we have a whole bunch of people looking up to us and we're expecting a response from them. So the moment you call a student incapable of doing something, the moment you call a student not skilled enough, the moment you call a student not good enough, you are hurting them for a lifetime. At this point, I again want you to take a deep breath and think about that one teacher who you absolutely hated when you were in school, when you were in college, or when you were doing your master's, your PhD, your MPhil. Think about that one teacher, one guide, one mentor that you hated. You did not want to see their face. Think about how you did in that subject. And as you think about the one teacher you hated the most and how you did in that subject, think about a teacher who made a difference to your life. Maybe he or he did not teach you. Maybe that professor was not teaching you, but was in the college and would just smile and say good morning to you every day. Or would just stand by and ask you, hey, how are you doing today? And how that affected you. One person you hated the most and how you did in their subject. One person you absolutely loved and how you did in that subject. And now, right at the center of it, you are going to put yourself. So you have a person you hated, you have a person you love. And now you are right here in the center. Yes,
the
Arun.
person we love, the subject is might be harder, but we thought that it will be easier to understand because of the bonding that we people had. But in some cases,
Right.
like the people we hated so much, even the subject is too easy to learn, but we didn't have the interest on it. That's what the difference creates.
Right? And now you are that person. So you can either do the hard subject and a good thing and be the person who changed the life of someone forever and take the stress, the good stress, right? Or you can be the person who doesn't care at all and says, you know what, if you're going to submit your assignment 2 minutes late, it is going in the bin. And you actually throw it in the bin in front of the student and ruin them for a lifetime. Which one are you going to be? Because I know that AICTE prepares us so that the students have to meet the deadlines. But what we are not prepared for is the fact that students are as human as we are. They make the same mistakes we do, and they go through the same stress we do.
Absolutely. Once we people are studying, we did the same thing what these people do now. That's what we understand.
Yeah.
1 or 2 days may
And
be
that's,
later, but we'll provide the
yeah,
marks for them and we'll accept the things what they are doing, and as well what is the interest and what is the issues that person is having. That we has to
correct.
understand, and we'll proceed the same with the person who's having the greater attention towards it.
So does it mean, Arun, that you have to agree with the student, or does it mean that you just have to understand them?
It's better we have the understanding capability between the student and us. If we accept everything, he's ready to give anything beyond the limits.
Right?
That's also going to happen.
Which means you don't have to agree with your students. You just have to tell them, hey, you know what? I understand what you're going through. I was a student once, and it was very stressful for me too. Just saying this would mean a lot to your students, and it would mean a lot for you, because now that student is not going to cause any more trouble for you.
Yes.
At this point, we have KG Unikrishnan. Yes or no has to depend upon the circumstances. Yes, totally. saying no at times can also lead to unbearable stress forever. I would want to partially agree with it, right? Because sometimes saying no in personal relationships can lead to a stress for a lifetime. But when you're talking to your HOD, and again, I'm sorry if I'm being impolite here, but if you do not disagree, new ideas will never come. Even if it causes stress, you have to disagree to certain things you don't believe in. And I'm not just saying this to say it to you. I have a class starting in about half an hour, and I don't remember the last time I and my students did not fight or argue or debate over a topic. And I don't remember a time I did not argue with my HOD, because arguments lead to productive discussions. You are not arguing to kill someone. You're not arguing to kill an idea. You're arguing to develop an idea. So when you look at the map of the world differently, you will notice that other people will respond in the same way, right? When someone smiles at you every single morning, is it possible that you don't smile at that person at all forever? No, which means you will get the desired result at some point. But if it is a personal relationship, you really have to weigh the pros and the cons of it. And I would still go by saying no if that's what I strongly believe in. And then the next belief of excellence is the one that has helped me a lot with my students. Probably would be wonderful for you to release a little bit of student-related stress. A lot of times, students say that they're not capable of doing something because they don't understand the topic. And this next belief of excellence is, if one can do, anyone can do. And when I started saying this to students initially, they used to find it stupid. They used to say, but miss, he's coming from a state school and I'm coming from a private school. Or he's older than me. Or he's got better parents than I have. Or I have to commute 2 hours a day just to get to school. And I thought, I don't have that time. Yes, people's situations are different. Yes, but your situations do not define you. And when you don't let, as a professor, when you don't let that define for yourself, it won't let your students define either. Which means, if you as a professor strongly believe that if Professor A can do this with the students, I can do it too. And you start working on it. Maybe you won't be good at it first. Maybe it won't be as powerful, as impactful. But once you do it, you know that you're able to do it. Because like I said about coffee, you can only say that you don't like tasted it. If you've not tasted it, it means you don't know what it tastes like. You can't say you don't like it, right? Anything that you want to share with me at this point in time? Okay. I agree. Balancing is required. Yeah. So if you have read about yin and yang, the black and the white, if you have read anything in Gita, in Quran, in Bible, you will see that there was always a balance in what was said in religious scriptures as well. And I'm saying this as a non-religious person. Anything that comes has to be balanced, whether it is your work and life, your relationships, whether it is saying yes and no, whether it is understanding and agreeing, it needs to have a certain balance. So if I keep on understanding you, but you don't understand me back, I'm going to stop at some point. And the same goes with you and your students' relationship. So over here, when I say release your stress by understanding, I don't mean to say that you are the one who always needs to understand. No, other people too have to understand you. So first you understand them, and then you seek to be understood, and you make it very clear to them. This has helped me in not judging people a lot, because I don't know how you have experienced life, but for me, I have seen that how people dress, how people look, what brands do they use, are a lot to tell about a person. And when you walk into a room wearing something nice, people notice you. And when you walk into a room wearing something that is not branded, something that does not look very appropriate, people ignore you, right? At this point, the same thing happens with assignments, student assignments. I've noticed that a lot of assignments, a lot of research work that has been done in depth, but has not been decorated well, goes unnoticed compared to the ones that has a lot of pompous, showy look to it, but it's got nothing inside. It's like a packet of sweets. A packet of sweets that is packed nicely, but the sweet tastes terrible, but you got to give a gift. So you're going to buy a nice packaged gift, right? So the fifth point helps me a lot in understanding that there is no failure. When a student doesn't do an assignment well, what I use is called WWW, and you can use this in teaching practice that you have as well. And EBI, which is even better if. So every time I give a student feedback, and at some point, if you want to have a look at it, I can share it with you guys. I mean, I can send an email and you can have a look at what I do. I'm not asking you to replicate my practice. No, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that I've got it all figured out. No, I haven't. But as I go and as I learn from other teachers, one of the practices I found in a British school in China was WWW and EBI. WWW is when you give feedback of an assignment and you say, hey, Flora, you know what went well with your assignment? The font was excellent. The research was great. The ideas that you have were wonderful. Even better if you write the appropriate technical terminology, you give due credit, you write your references, then your assignment is perfect. Without a WWW and EBI, a student is lost. He only knows that he failed. He does not know why. Now imagine tomorrow morning you show up at work on Monday morning and your HOD calls you in and says, you're fired today. And he doesn't tell you why. How is it that you're going to feel? Over here, how am I going to relate stress? So a lot of times teachers do a lot of work, and I know because I am a teacher, I am a professor, and I do the same thing you guys do, right? So we take a lot of stress because we've got so many students and we've got so many pieces of work to check. The mistake we make is we just put a right or a cross, right? The next time the student still gets a lower grade because the student does not know what did they do wrong. But in 1 year, if you do 2 pieces of work with a feedback that is WWW and EBI, yes, Kuldeep, I will take that up in a minute. I just read what Kuldeep had written. It's very interesting. Just give me 1 minute. I'll take it up. Yes, I will come to it in a moment, Kuldeep. Yes, I understand what you're saying. So when you check 2 assignments with a proper feedback, the student has scope of improvement, which means your work is eventually going to get lesser. Initially, it's very difficult to do WWW and EBI, but as you do it, you have to teach lesser. Otherwise, you will go on revising the same topic with the student again and again, 10 times a year, and they still won't understand it, causing you enough stress. So there are 2 kinds of stress when it comes to teaching and learning. A kind of stress that comes from not giving the feedback and thinking of a student as a failure, that, oh my God, I have to work so much on the student because he doesn't know anything. And the second kind of stress is, oh, this student knows a little bit. Let me give it to him in writing what he does not know. Because now the student has an idea what to do to improve. And you will be surprised and amazed at the results you get. So if any of you, even if it is just 1 person out of all of us who wants to try this, you can let me know separately. You can let your head of department know, and I will send you a paper with the feedback. My main subject is business studies. So obviously it's not a technical paper, but I'll still send you a business studies paper and you can have a look at it and see how I give my feedback. It is a very good practice to share as teachers. Coming to what Kuldeep has just said, we are different people. And like I said, I understand what Kuldeep is saying, that it is easier when you let life just happen. But for a lot of us, it's not an option. You can't let life happen when you have old parents at home who are suffering. You can't let life happen when you have a wife who is not happy or a husband who is trying to divorce you. You can't be happy when you have a child at home who you have to take care of, who you have to provide for. You can't be stress-free when your bank doesn't have enough balance. And I understand all of it. You can't live bindas like that. But I think what Kuldeep is trying to say here, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kuldeep, is that the moment you think about stressful situation, like we did the very first exercise, you make it bigger in your head and it grows beyond your head. So in Hindu scriptures, there was Ravana with his 10 heads. He did not have physical 10 heads. What we meant to say was that the 10 heads represented the kind of evil he was capable to do. And these are the 10 heads you grow in your mind when you think and overthink about a stressful situation. So when you overthink, you grow the heads of stress. And when you just acknowledge that there is a problem in my life that needs to be solved, and you start working on it, it actually gets solved. So I think what Kuldeep, and again, Kuldeep, I'm sorry if I've not understood you correctly, but please correct me in that case. If you acknowledge it, which he means, just leave everything on its own. Accept it that there is a problem in your life. I don't know if any of you know of Rajkot. I come from Rajkot. So we opened a school called Genius Super Kids in Rajkot about 8 years ago. It is for special students, special kids, kids with disabilities of learning, physical disabilities as well. And one of the things we learned when we opened the school was parents did not want to be told that their child had a problem. Until the time they accepted that the child had a problem, the problem could not be solved. I will let this sink in a little bit for you. Let this thought sink in. Think of you as a parent of a child who cannot learn the way you learn, who has to be taught at an age of 16 years to zip up the pants. Think of how you would feel to be a parent to that child, right? I understand that parent, but until and unless that parent accepts the problem cannot be solved. And the same thing is with stress, what Kuldeep is trying to say here. Accept that a situation is causing stress, 1. 2, plan to deal with that stress. And 3, get off your couch and deal with it. Don't run away with it. Don't ignore it. Deal with it. It is stressful to deal with it, but once you deal with it, you become resilient. And like I said, the opposite of stress is not to be unstressed. It's to be strong. It's to be resilient. Are you with me till here? Are you with me? Or have I lost you?
Yeah, please.
So the 6th one, and I'm going to do 10 of these today. And the 6th one is mind and body are a part of the same system. If you train your mind to do something, your body will follow. If your body does something, the mind will follow. Let me share a little tiny experience from my life with you. I don't know how many of you are aware about thalassemia. Are you aware about thalassemia? Do you know what thalassemia is? Thalassemia. Are you aware? Yes. Okay. So thalassemia, for those of you who are not very aware, is a genetic disease that does not allow your body to absorb iron, which means that the hemoglobin in the body cannot be formed. So people with thalassemia major grow up to have blood transfusion and they die at a very young age. It is like a form of a cancer. It's not cancer, but it's a form of it. There is something called thalassemia minor, and you can look this up if you want to know more about it. I don't know if you've ever checked yourself for it. So when I was 20 something and I had to be admitted in college in Gujarat, colleges even today, I think, need you to have a thalassemia report before you can get the admission at the college. So after I graduated from school, I got my TEL report, and at school I used to play basketball. I was a national player for India for basketball. You might have not heard of me because I was the shortest of all. And I used to get head rush. So every time I played basketball, I used to have, I used to get head rush and I used to go blank and I didn't know what was happening. So every time I told my coach, he would say, you need more protein. Every time I told my mom, she would say, don't go out in sun because the sun causes it. Because in Gujarat, sun is 50 degrees in summer. And I grew up believing them. And I played basketball through them. And over a period of time, my body got adapted. In college, when I did my TEL test, I realized that I had thalassemia minor. And my body does not make enough blood. It cannot absorb any supplements of a form of iron. So people tell me to eat spinach and dates and iron supplements. It does not work. My hemoglobin stays at a 6, if you know what a 6 means. If your hemoglobin from 12 would drop to 6, you would probably faint. I live with it every single day of my life. Why am I sharing this with you? Because as a kid, when I was told I have protein deficiency or because I'm going in sun, I had this head rush, I believed it. So in my mind, I thought I have no other problem. And I kept on playing basketball. If you've played a sport like football, basketball, handball, you would know it requires a lot of physical pressure. But the moment I came to know I had TEL minor, 5 years after that, I was in constant stress and I would not do things. I would eat very mindfully. I would not go out to eat pani puri only because I had TEL minor. And in those 5 years, I lost so much weight and my hemoglobin kept on dropping further. Because in my mind, I kept on believing that I was sick. I was sick, I was sick, I was sick. And my body adapted to it and it made me sick. You can see me now at 6 hemoglobin. I'm this healthy. I work out, I do yoga, I go out for hiking. I do everything that a normal person does, probably a little more than that. So I'm not saying this out of anything else, but just as my own experience that mind and body are a part of the same system. And if you allow your stress to take over your head, your body will be stressed. So how many of you don't have to answer this question, just think about it. How many of you get shoulder pains over here after a day at work? How many of you get a headache after work? That is your stress talking to your body. How many of you actually do something about how your body feels? Do you go home, sit down and watch TV? Or do you go out for a run? Do you exercise? And how many times have we heard, and we are all professors, come on, we know it all, right? You don't want some Flora to come and tell you this stuff because you know it. A healthy mind, a healthy body. A healthy body, a healthy mind. So I want, from today's session, my end in mind, one of the end in mind is to let you take away one healthy habit to follow every single day for next 20 days. I'm going to give you a small break over here for 3 minutes. I want you to think about this, about how mind and body are a part of the same system. I want you to think about the first exercise and what causes the maximum stress for you. 1, 2, and I will type it out for you. Two. How does your body feel when you are stressed? And 3, how will your body feel better? And whatever your answer is to the third question is something you need to commit to yourself. At the beginning of the session, I requested you to put your cell phones away and commit this time to yourself. And now is the time to commit. You don't have to tell anyone about it. You don't have to post it on Facebook. You can post it on Facebook if that motivates you, or if you like doing that. There is no rule for or against it. Commit to a habit. It could be something simple like I'm going to drink 8 glasses of water a day. It could be I'm going to go for a 20-minute walk in my college campus every day. I'm going to get up every 1 hour. I'm not going to sit too long. I'm going to go for a massage once in 15 days. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to do yoga. I'm going to take a nice hot shower, 1 hour long. I'm going to go with my kids out of town once every month. I'm going to spend time with my wife or my husband. I'm going to take them on a date. Think about one healthy thing that you can commit to for yourself, for your relationships with your colleagues, your students, your family. If you want and you're happy to share, you can share in the chat box or unmute yourself and let us all know. If not, I understand. And I'm going to give you 2 more minutes for it. Remember, this is for you. This session is not about me or anyone at the university that you teach. This is about you. The one habit that you can commit to as you grow through life, as a professor, as a learner, because I hear that some of you are studying as well, as a husband or a wife, as a son or a daughter, as a parent, wherever you are in this role. And what I'm going to do is, in the meantime, while you think, I'm going to type out all the other beliefs of excellence for you in the chat box. Is there anyone who'd like to share a healthy habit that they're committing themselves to? Anyone who'd like to share? Okay. I want to give last 5 minutes for feedback, but before that, I'm going to quickly cover the beliefs of excellence that we have not covered, but I'd just like to talk about them. And we have KG Unikrishnan, talk to daughter twice during the week, re-establish daily walk for 15 kilometers, reduce TV time to 30 minutes. Bravo. I'm proud of you. If I can see your face, I'd be very happy. But otherwise, as well, I'm really proud of you as a human being. Getting up early in the morning, Kavi. It's a struggle, isn't it? Ooh, that's a big one. All meals in time. Wow. So I'm an early riser, and the temperature here today is, yesterday we had a snowfall. The temperatures have dropped a lot. And it's, if you can see what it is right now, -11 for us. And it was so difficult for me to get up this morning. Very difficult. So bravo, Kavi. It is difficult. And in the meantime, while the others are typing, I'm going to quickly cover the other beliefs of excellence. Every behavior has a positive intention. When a student shouts at you, they're not shouting at you. They're shouting because they're troubled. When your wife or husband fights with you, they're not fighting because they don't like you. They're fighting to keep the relationship alive and positive. Every behavior has a positive intention. There is no behavior you will ever find that was done to hurt, to harm. If it was out of jealousy, for example, jealousy comes from the fact that they love you more. If it was from greed, what are they going to do with all that money? It obviously had some positive intention. Even if it is for themselves, there's always a positive intention. The person with the most flexibility will control the system. This one is a little difficult to understand because we are used to people telling us what to do and them being in control. But technically, and you guys are technical people, you know when a software is flexible, when a machine is adaptable, it's easier to produce. Exactly how human beings work. The more flexible you are, Even if you don't have a position, trust me, the control is in your hands. And those of you who have experienced this will know it. Always try to say thanks to God for every betterment I achieve. Being grateful, just being thankful, especially during the pandemic, you know. We took breathing for granted. Like we don't even realize when we breathe. But now when we see that people cannot even breathe, we thank God for allowing us to breathe every morning, to wake up in the morning. A very good reason to be grateful for, Kavi. If you always do what you have always done, you will always get what you have always had. If you don't change your practice, you're not getting anywhere better. If you want success, you change your habits. Your behavior is not who you are. It is a situation, not you. Never let behavior define you. Perception that you have is your reality. Similarly, someone else's perception is their reality. You are in charge of your mind and therefore the results. You think you can do it, you can do it. You think you can't do it, you've already lost. You cannot not communicate even when you're not talking. You're talking through your expressions, you're talking through your eyes. You know, with the mask on, we thought people can't see our faces. The eyes speak, the eyebrows speak, the hands speak, everything speaks. So when you're in front of a class, you speak with your whole body, not just with your words. Remember that. And the same is true for the other person, which means when you're seeing another person, don't only go by the words that come out of their mouth, also go by their body language. And that will tell you a lot about that person, keeping your stress levels low. You have all the resources you need in order to change because it is your circle of influence and you decide what you want to do. So sometimes with this point, a lot of people argue saying, but I don't have enough money, or I don't have enough support from my family, or my students just don't want to listen. And once again, I will tell you that you have all the resources within you. If you can identify a problem, you've probably already identified the solution. It's just a matter of time till you acknowledge it. And lastly, resistance is a sign that you are lacking rapport with someone. If someone does not want to work with you, does not want to agree or understand you, it's not their fault. It is the rapport that you're missing. You need to develop a relationship. It's like a bank account. Deposit first so that the rapport will develop. So I'm really sorry that we had to go through this fast, but and I'm really grateful that technical universities are now making it compulsory that teachers are human beings. Professors need time for themselves. So I'm really grateful that we had this session, but I'm also apologizing that we did not have enough time to go through all these points and more that I wanted to do. But we will meet again for sure. And before we end today, I want a quick feedback on number 1, if the session was helpful. Number 2, what would you like in the next session, if at all we have one? And number 3, how do you feel today? Are you ready for the weekend already? I'd love to hear from some of you guys, like not just in the chat box, but I would actually like to hear you guys. And for the last 5 minutes, if all of us can turn on our cameras, probably we can take a screenshot of this training. And I think it would also go into your portfolios as one of the trainings you've done. So it's okay to have a screenshot and keep it with you. And feedback, I'm very open to criticism as well. I take it very positively. So if you have something you did not like, please feel free to let me know. I'm more than happy to adapt and change. Thank you for being here with me and spending this time with me. So can we request everyone to turn on the cameras if you want to take the screenshot?
Any feedback from participants, please, if you want to share something? I think we are from technical side, so gets fed up with all this technical session continuously working at institute, working at industry. So I think this kind of session is whether it is mandatory or not, but this is required. That is what I think.
It keeps the human side of the technical people alive, right? We remember we are not missing. Yes, how do I keep smiling through the session? Because I choose to. So thank you very much. I see that you noticed it. But for me, it's just, I'm not smiling out of force. I'm actually very glad to be here today, and you can tell that. Thank you, Kavi and KG Unikrishnan. I'm sorry, I don't know your name because it appears as KG Unikrishnan, so that's why I keep on calling you. And you can call me Flora. Feedback, guys. How was it for you today, and how would you like it changed for the next time? Or for other colleges as well. Thank you, Yagnesh. Because this has an impact on a lot of professors in India. So if you give me some feedback, it will really help your colleagues around the country.
Adding one more in chat box. Few people are typing.
Thank you, Bhupender. Thank you, Libin. Realign the habits and reduce the stress. I like that. I like that statement, realigning the habits. Yeah. Actually, I'm also constantly, because it's an ongoing process, right? It cannot be one time. So I'm also constantly realigning my habits. Like I do yoga, for example, and I was doing it twice a week, and I'm trying to do it 3 times a week. And even that one extra time helps a lot, but it's very difficult to find time for it. So what would I rather be stressed with? Realigning my habits. Thank you for that.
Yeah, if there is no...
do we have other session after this, or this is the end for all the participants?
No, actually, this is the last technical session of this entire program. We have started on 8th, on Monday, and today is the 5th and last day of all the technical sessions. And then for 15 or 20 minutes after the lunch, I mean at 3 p.m., we have a valedictory session. That's it. So this is the last session of yours. So that all the stress, all the accumulated stress can be relieved.
So let's just do a little breathing. Since I know that you have valedictory now, let's just do a little breathing session. So what I want you to do is...
That valedictory will be at 3 p.m., not now actually. But,
okay, great. But they have time. They have lunch and then they have valedictory, right?
Yeah. After the break.
Okay. So let's do a little bit of breathing before we end today. And I would love more feedback. You can send your feedback to the organizer, who is, I don't know, who would be responsible for that. If you have any feedback, you know who the organizer is. Please send your feedback to them. And I would like to take 1 minute to just breathe with you guys. So if your shoulders are drooped, push them, make it straight. Your spine straight. And obviously, you're technical people. You know exactly what straight means. You want your head to be straight, and we will take 5 nice and deep breaths before we end today. If you want to close your eyes, feel free to do that. Take a deep breath in. And exhale. And with the next breath, I want you to find a reason to be thankful for today. It could be anything personal or professional. And breathe in gratitude. And exhale and allow your shoulders to relax a little bit. Third breath, inhale. And think about a healthy habit that you're going to commit to. And exhale and release a little bit of stress from your lower back. Fourth breath, inhale. Think about how you're going to use all your sessions from the 8th till today in your professional practice. Exhale and allow the thoughts to pass. And this last breath, is just for yourself. Take it as deep as you like. And exhale. And have a wonderful day ahead. Enjoy your lunch. And I hope to hear some feedback from you guys soon. Thank you for having me. I'm very grateful to the engineering universities and the technical side of it. Thank you very much. Yes, you have something
we can conclude this session, Yagnesh. Professor Bala.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Okay. So, thank you so much, Professor Flora, for this excellent session. We all are human beings, and we have this right to be stress-free, which will definitely make us productive towards life. I'll not mention technical side. Of course, we are doing well. I hope everybody of us. And it was really an excellent session because maybe a session of 1 hour or maybe a little bit more than that, we have invested in us. So thank you so much for all the insight you have provided. And on behalf of AD Patel Institute of Technology and Automobile and Mechanical Engineering Department, I'd like to thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. Bye.
Thank you.
Have a lovely
Okay.
day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Yeah, so for all the participants, the last valedictory session will be at 3 p.m. sharp, right? So it's my request that you be there at 3 p.m. We will take only 15 to 20 minutes, not more than that, and we will be discussing about this feedback and everything and how we will proceed for your certificates, right? So that we will discuss for 20-25 minutes maximum. So please be there at 3 p.m. and then we will end up the entire our FDP sessions. Fine. So thank you. Yes, Yagnesh, I think that's it for now.
Yeah, we will meet at
3 p.m. sharp.
sharp.
Right? All of you, please be there for 20-25 minutes. Thank you for now. Thank you.
Thank you to all. So we are having the lunch break. We will meet again. Thank you so much.